Hello everyone, I'm MatZap. Today's review is the only one of the 3 Mario games in the Mario 3D All-Stars collection I've had the patience enough to beat, and have finally beaten after 4 months. It's Super Mario Galaxy. What is Mario Galaxy? Like most other Mario games, it's a platformer, specifically a 3D platformer, that takes place in space. Crazy, I know. But the setting of space, galaxies, and planets creates a platformer that will bend perspective and, if you don't keep up, your controls. Aside from the gravity mechanics, Mario Galaxy is a pretty traditional 3D Mario game. Across several levels, you must collect stars to progress all the way through to the end of the game. But will the setting and mechanics be able to help Mario Galaxy stand out from its fellow 3D Mario games? If you're playing a Mario game for the story, then you're playing for the wrong reason. The premise is the same as just about every other Mario game. Bowser kidnaps Princess Peach, and Mario's gotta go save her. Sure, this time around we work with Rosalina and Lumas, but neither has a major impact on the plotline of the game. However, there's one thing story-wise that is super weird, but also very notable, and that is Rosalina's backstory. As you play the game, you eventually unlock the library, an optional area in the hub world. Inside the library is the storybook, aka Rosalina's backstory. You unlock more chapters as you get more stars and progress in the game. Again, this is an entirely optional thing, but it does provide more character to Rosalina and the Lumas for those who are interested. This section is really hard to rate, as the story is not very important anyways, it's very secondary to the gameplay, but it also just doesn't have much to work with even with the storybook. With all that in mind, I give the story a 7 out of 10. What we do have to work with is not very original at all, and Rosalina is pretty much the sole character that has any actual character in the game. Again, pretty weird to review the story of a Mario game, but it does have one, so we have to consider it. It's Mario. Of course the platforming is good, but there are many things we can talk about. It may be a Mario game, but it's not perfect. First off, I gotta complain about the spring power-up. It just doesn't function properly. This is a common strife among Mario Galaxy players, but that's because of its inconsistent controls. The other power-ups are overall fine, but Spring Mario is just... Another issue is the camera. This will be discussed more in the presentation portion of this review, but to sum it up, the camera is often uncontrollable by the player, and because the movement controls are based off of Mario's position to the camera, will cause major control issues. These issues can range from simply being disoriented or confused to getting stuck and unsure of which direction any input will make you go. With all the major complaints out of the way, let's talk about the good parts of the game. The level variety is incredible. Most galaxies consist of 3 main stars, although there are many secret stars and common stars, that take you through a level, each with varying mechanics. While not all of them are executed well, spring levels, the amount of ideas is exceptional. Aside from the janky camera and Spring Mario, the game controls very well. I've heard some complaints about the game being too easy, which is an odd complaint as it is a Mario game, a game for kids. If anything, I think that difficulty is great for children, especially considering the gravity shifts that tend to make even some adults have trouble grasping. When it comes to the controls underwater, it usually takes a second to get used to, but it is for once not really that annoying. The most difficulty I had was getting into the water, but that was just a lack of remembering the controls. The level design of Mario Galaxy is excellent. While I think it would have been more interesting if more levels centered around one main mechanic, the jumble of things found in most levels doesn't hinder the game in any way. The level design tends to be more focused on the environments rather than the gameplay side of it. Sometimes, however, the gameplay design works rather well in tandem with the environments they're in. An example of this is the first couple of Freeze Flame Galaxy levels. Each one of these levels centers around ice, fire, or both. But what makes it better is the player gets to wield the ice or fire flowers, each that have interesting mechanics that are needed to beat the levels and give a very powerful thematic feel as you play. Overall, I give this section an 8 out of 10. The gameplay in general is solid, but the camera causes some problems, and while the spring levels are technically skippable, chances are players will come across at least one of these levels and they are miserable. It also doesn't help that, while there are many good levels, there's no particularly great ones. Especially for a 2007 game originally on the Wii, Mario Galaxy is a beautiful game that certainly stands the time in visuals. There's lots of vibrant colors everywhere, and that, plus the creativity weaved into the environments, makes them much more enjoyable to play through. The sheer number of different galaxies, each with their own themes, keeps the game fresh and interesting. One big thing that I have to take points off for, however, is the camera. For the most part, it's fine. However, most levels have gravity shifting mechanics, and sometimes the camera does not like gravity shifting. What makes this worse is the movement controls shift with the gravity shifts, so not only do you get disoriented from the camera freaking out, but the controls will act up half the time and disorient you further. Thankfully, the music score is amazing. This is the main thing people remember the most when they think of Mario Galaxy. Each track sets the mood of the level in such a dramatic and fantastical way. I would play music here, but Nintendo and their copyright claims, yeah, no. Mario Galaxy's presentation gets a 9 out of 10. The only hindrance being the camera. While it's bearable that you can't control the camera most of the time, what's unbearable is the amount of janky confusion it causes, especially if you have a hard time keeping up with the gravity shifts. Warning. Yes, I am giving a spoiler warning for a 2007 Mario game. If either for the final level or the end of the story you want to avoid, go to the time shown here. Otherwise, continue on. The ending is everything after you attain the 60th star, from the cutscene at the observatory to the credits. The cutscene at the observatory isn't worth talking about very much. Rosalina tells us we're ready to go, and we fly through space on the observatory to the center of the universe. You get to see the observatory destroy some of the spaceships, which is pretty entertaining, but the real review starts at the final level. The Fates of the Universe. A pretty dramatic title, all things considered. This level does some things right and some things bad. What's great about it is that it combines some of the most used mechanics throughout many of the worlds of the game. A typical thing of a final level, but still interesting and unique to the game nonetheless. One example of this is the very first section of the level, where moving spotlights come horizontally and shift the gravity 90 degrees in their space. Aside from being a gravity shift that is the most common mechanic in the game, it uses the circular space similar to the Matter Splatter Mansion or Watch Your Step levels. Most of this final level is pretty solid, but there's one section that is astonishingly bad. The lava pipe, we'll call it. This section is all about traversing a long pipe lined with lava and is split up into 3 segments with increasing difficulty. Each segment is fundamentally the same. You must move across moving platforms that rotate along the circumference of the pipe while dodging oncoming bullet bills. As you might guess, this is already a kinda annoying setup, but isn't so bad by itself. What makes it worse, however, is, to put it one way, the quality of the graphics. You see, the lighting of the lava gets reflected onto the bullet bills, and this lighting effect causes the smaller bullet bills to become very hard to see while you're playing. So not only is it a struggle to cross the platforms as they rotate, but you can hardly see the oncoming danger half the time. Now let's talk about the final boss fight. This fight is actually somewhat underwhelming given the hype the level's name gives. You fight Bowser's Surprise, and it's in the same arena all the other Bowser fights take place on. The only real difference is this time you have to beat him on 3 different spheres, one at a time. While the rule of 3 is a pretty common thing in Mario, it was disappointing that the fight was virtually the same all 3 phases and there was no interesting twist to it to separate it from the other Bowser fights. The final cutscene is where it gets really weird though. a black hole forms sucking everyone in, but then to save everyone, the Lumas sacrifice themselves? It's not really clear exactly what they're doing, but then we go to some anime-style other dimension and meet a giant Rosalina, who talks about some weird big brain stuff before fading to white and finding all the major characters except Rosalina back in the Mushroom Kingdom, the beginning of the game. It's a really strange ending, and it isn't satisfying. Even leaving it at the classic gratification of seeing Bowser defeated would have been better. Instead, we got some weird, wacky stuff that leaves you more bewildered than anything. In conclusion, the ending of Mario Galaxy gets a 6 out of 10. Its best strength is intermixing mechanics from throughout the game. However, part of the level is frustrating, the final boss is underwhelming, and the ending is just very, very strange. For the most part, the ending isn't exactly bad, but it's not exactly good either. Mario Galaxy is a solid Mario game, but relies a bit too heavily on its gravity mechanics that has a small yet critical lack of polish in its camera coordination. For every good or great part of the game, there's some small, slightly annoying thing that comes with it. Lots of environment variety, but not many notable levels. Interesting power-ups, but a lack of use in these unique power-ups. Fantastic music, but an annoying camera. However, especially for a game originally released on the Wii in 2007, it does a rather good job at taking on the gravity shifts that make Mario Galaxy a standout title among the 3D Mario lineup. The final score for Super Mario Galaxy is 30 out of 40, a C. Hey guys, thanks for watching. This is the first review video I've done in a really long time, and I'm hoping to do more of these more frequently in the future. Obviously this took a lot of work, so I'd greatly appreciate if you liked the video, commented down below your thoughts, and share it with any friends you think would be interested. Also, if you want to see more of my content, such as a playthrough of this game, or other Mario games, or just platformers, whatever, in recording settings or in live stream settings, please subscribe and hit that bell. Both of those help out with the YouTube algorithm immensely. Also, check out my Twitter and my Facebook page for more reliable ways to stay up to date with the channel, particularly the Facebook page is a bit more reliable. And thanks again, and I'll see you all in the next video.